Hey, Tommy.
Wayne, we're doing it again. Another beautiful day in beautiful river.
We'll flow. And
Just some people. We do have some fans. They're socially distant. And
no masks.
a little
and,
Baba Booey getting yelled before, but we put an end to that.
It's no
and,
big deal, you know.
No.
So I have one thing to say. I'm trying to get my clock going because it's screwed up. Rest in peace to Dale Hawerchuk.
Yeah. Yep.
Really good guy, great hockey player. Spent 4.5 years here. Really big philanthropist, giving money away, doing great things. So
I think he coached juniors too, right?
yes, he did.
Another thing, when you you look back at that team when he played here, they had Hawerchuk, Hall of Fame, LaFontaine, Hall of Fame, Anderchuk, Hall of Fame, Mogilny, arguably
Should be Hall of Fame.
Grant Fuhr, who's Hall of Fame, but at the tail end, and Dominic Hasek. How didn't that team? They won one playoff series.
Well, you know why they didn't win is because just when they were going to annihilate Montreal, we lost 4 straight games by a goal, 3 of them in overtime. But what happened in the second game?
The injuries, right? I think.
Yeah, Pat LaFontaine out for the series. Mogilny out for the series. It just is ridiculous. Nothing. Everything will. Whatever has to happen will happen.
And that's very true. But there was 3 or 4 seasons together there. Do you think, man?
Yeah, true.
One
true.
series? I don't know.
Yeah, it's too
I
bad.
mean, sometimes that was a hell of a team when you think back. That was early 92, 93, right?
Well, 93 is when the Canadians beat us. 4 1-goal games. And
4-3, I think it was 4-3, 4-3.
I think it was.
4-3.
I really do believe it was every time. And anyway, they went on to win the Stanley Cup, but I'm sorry, that team was no better than us, and that hurt.
Did the NHL then step in and say that there was going to be no more 4-3s?
Yes.
You couldn't have more than one, 2 4-3s in a 7.
And that was it. And then so you got to replay it, and then 1-0 will win it because you play that horrible Islanders game now with the no neck trot.
Right.
You watch a game now, and all they do is jam up the middle, and you can't score. And
it is kind of.
I know. I guess you play the system that wins, but who cares? Oh, it's
And
horrible.
speaking of, one of my suggestions for the Sabres last few shows was Alex Tuch, but he's really coming into his own.
So now we won't get him. Boy,
Big,
remember
tough.
they had soured on him. The guy's got 5 goals in the playoffs.
Big and tough kid, and doggone it. But whatever.
Let's talk Bills a little bit
Yeah.
here. We got a few other things to say today, but Bill started camp. It's the 3rd day of pads, and really exciting. I mean, we're getting some snippets out there from camp. Tom and I did apply for straight from the hip field credentials.
We weren't given.
And we were turned down. In fact, they said, "Who the F is straight from the hip?"
Which we can't say what we had to say, but
So
we are on a list, and possibly you might see us broadcasting, or at least
maybe when I hit 80,
be allowed to view there.
I might think I'm a big version of Van Miller. Just let me in at 80.
Excited about the season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Hoping that.
Well, you're not too excited. You're yawning.
Just
Jesus.
yawning. It's that time of the day. Hopefully that they get this season in, right? And let's get out of this damn COVID and try to get some semblance of normalcy, at least sports-wise, back.
I think we're gonna. I had a very sour feeling about it that they weren't gonna make it through, but somehow I think it's gonna work out. But yeah, I really, I want to see some football, and boy, I would have loved to see some hockey if we had any team here that could do it. But
right.
Anyway, the Bills, it's a couple. I think it might be time to turn the page. We got a lot of depth, a lot of talent. Maybe time to turn the page on, the fullback who makes $18 million, and that's a joke, by the way, but I think he makes 4.5. Lee Smith, let's.
I think time will solve, especially Lee Smith. I mean, Tyler Croft. I see why the Bills brought him in. He's a big guy, tough, and when he was healthy, he could block, and he was. And I love this Nelson Knox. I think it's. I think he's just going to be a phenomenal football player. He's so talented.
Yeah, he bought a jugs machine. Had his mom feeding it.
And his girlfriend and stuff, and that's commitment and stuff. And I like Tommy Sweeney, and although I think he's out right now,
he's a little too Boston Irish for me. Sorry.
Well, I think Lee Smith, to answer your question, could be days are numbered. As far as DeMarco, they really like DeMarco, special teams and stuff. Obviously, he's not going to carry the football for you a whole lot, or should I say
Well, we did send him out in that playoff on a bomb. That was a great play, but anyway.
I don't understand that, but we do have some, the dog park next door here, and we have some action. But It could be. It could. You got Moss
Mhm.
and Devin Singletary, and they say
So
that
it's a prediction.
TJ Yeldon.
Projection right now. The thought is that Moss is going to just get some goal line and some, change of pace. What do you think?
I don't know.
Singletary going to carry the rock more and then just bring him on change of pace? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if Singletary's built for 25
30 carries.
a game, although they don't like to do that too much anymore. I can't give you an honest answer there because I haven't seen Moss play.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that have seen him play and are in the know say that this guy...
He might actually... There are some people saying he might just take over the load. I mean, that's how good he looks, but...
The nice thing about that is they're similar size, I think, height-wise. Maybe Moss is thicker, but Moss will run over you, and Singletary will shoot you out of your jock.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's a nice yin and yang there.
Well, and he's just... Singletary's a lot like Shady. He plants that foot and then he's gone, and he
Yep.
darts, and he's really good.
And he was very dependable too for Florida. One of the schools that he was out of Florida, right? I forget the
Yeah.
college, and he was
Florida
very
Atlantic, I believe.
he was very dependable down there. So I think that's a good 1-2 punch. And people get banged up, so it's
Well, you
good to
can
have.
never have enough good backs. And then you got, I think you and I might disagree on this, and I don't like him, but I think Duke Williams is going to have a hard time because the 2 draft picks, what was it, the 4th and 7th round? Two really good looking football players, receivers.
The only thing I'll say, I now that I've heard more about them, they say they're like 2 trees. I mean,
Yeah.
the 7th round guy, Huggins,
Yeah.
he's a big, thick receiver that goes up and gets the contested balls. I know the team loves Duke. They love his toughness and stuff, but you're right. You're not going to get rid of a 4th round draft pick for
No,
sure.
That's the point. And
And,
7th, you might. Here's what I think about Duke. I think Duke looked really good, and I wanted him to get more.
It's a daily edging being done on the set.
Really, more exposure. And then they gave him that game, the playoff game, and God, they threw his way 12 times, and there were many catches, many balls that were catchable that could have turned that game around. They didn't come down with him, and you wonder as a free agent on the CFL if they're looking at that saying, okay, we gave him a shot. I mean, it's not a draft
Could
pick.
very well be. Could very well be. They asked McDermott today about the 2 kids, and I guess Smoke Brown there made some great comments about him, and McDermott said, I think John's just getting a little nice because these guys are rookies and blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
they're going to lean toward the vets.
Yeah.
You have the extra taxi squad room this year, but 2 really nice pickups by the Bills
nice
in the
draft
draft.
picks.
And could make it very difficult for definitely Duke and maybe Robert Foster too.
Yeah, Robert Foster as well, absolutely.
Do you realize you should edge? They're saying now, experts are saying you should edge your
Every cutting.
every cutting.
So we got complete insanity here outside of our studio, and then back in my house, it's 3 times a week we edge.
We have an air cutter here too.
Used to be edged once a year, maybe. Now we got to grind concrete for 35 minutes, make sure everybody's up and at 'em.
It is absurd.
At least today it's in the afternoon. Mine usually start at 9:01 next to my house.
I did purchase one of those gas-powered trimmers, but the edgers. But mine isn't for the edging. It's for let's just say defense.
We can get there in a minute, okay? I got a couple more football
Go
things
ahead.
for you, okay? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So what do you make of this offensive line? Who are they plugging in at right guard? And do you see it as kind of a 6 or 7 man unit where they just kind of move in and out here and there?
They haven't really looked at it. No, I think obviously Morse.
What have you been doing?
Spain.
What have you been doing?
They just extended Dawkins.
Yeah.
I think Brian Winters takes that position. If his shoulders and stuff, I know he had some issues with the Jets last year. He's a really decent football player.
He is.
Again, in on a great deal, a show-me deal. And
Yeah.
I think Cody Ford will play right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, he can slide in to play some guard too. But right now, I think Winters and Ford at right tackle.
Yeah, and just leave it there and see what happens. And, I know like D linemen, they want to go in and out. They don't do that much on the O line, but
Right.
But you can. It's nice to have if a guy goes down in the middle of the game or whatever. It's nice, and they've got a lot of guys who can snap at center, which is huge because Feliciano did a great job last year when Morris went down.
Is he out for the year?
No.
Okay.
They figured 2 months, so
Okay.
he might only miss 4 to 6
Because he's a hell of a
games.
he's a tough ass football.
He's a hell of a football player, and not only does he play guard well, but like I said, he took over snapping for Morris. As fans, I remember watching that game thinking, this is a little scary. But what really happened is the guy was good, real good. And
Well, I think one of your
the Bills know
concerns, one of your concerns early on was you thought that he was related to Jose Feliciano. We later found out that he was indeed not.
I don't know. I've heard him play a mean little horn, so so the Bills and then corner. I mean, probably according to everybody, Josh Norman's basically grabbing on, saying this is my job. He's been all over the field. I think. The thing with him is that if you play that zone, he can play that all day. If you start going, cover and man, you got issues.
Yeah, I think the Bills have set themselves up really nice there too with Levi Wallace, him and that is Teron. I know EJ opted out, right?
EJ opted out,
but Teron Johnson I think is there.
Yep.
And I think they're set up nice. And the kid out of Pitt, the last draft pick, he's a pretty...
Dane Jackson?
Jackson, really tough little football player. So the Bills, and you heard the old adage back in the 90s too, can never have enough good corners, especially in a passing league. And I think the Bills are set up really nice there.
I agree. Probably a little thinner at linebacker than I'd like, but sitting here on this deck today, that Basheen Joseph, all I hear is he played some special teams and he got hurt, but they really, really like him, and they really, really like Milano, out of Boston College, and look what he's done. So
Corey
we'll see what
Thompson
happens.
too is another football player.
Corey Thompson, yeah,
that's been around for a couple of years that they really like, and the Klein, AJ Klein was a nice, and again Brandon Bean and McDermott, another nice acquisition there with AJ Klein. I think he's got some familiarity with McDermott from years gone by, but I think fresh from the Saints, right?
Yeah, and actually the thing about him is that when you look at the analytics, that strong side linebacker only plays about 22% of the snaps, right, because we're in a lot of 5-man coverage and things like that. So that's interesting. So I think we got a really good guy there who can set the edge, run stuffer. Now, if one of them go down, the top 3, we're going to find out as fans, and they're going to find out as coaches just how good is Joseph,
right,
and how good are some of these guys, and we'll see. But for now, I trust these guys. They pick the right guys. They develop the right guys. So I think
really interesting. I
feel good about it.
It's not actually interesting. It was different seeing 57, jersey number 57 on a different player.
Yeah.
It's Ecanaza.
Oh yeah,
the number 1 pick, but 2nd round guy.
Espinoza.
Huge, and he just looks like the old school football player. Just a big guy, tough, can play up and down the line, and that's going to be a real interesting situation to watch.
Yeah, it is. In the first 2 days, I was looking at some news and notes, and they said that they expected him to come in and dance a little bit because he's not known for his foot speed. But they said they were really pleasantly surprised he was throwing people out of the way.
That was his thing. After we drafted him, listening to his coach and then some of the guys that had scouted him, he just literally, I believe he sacked Josh Allen in a game a few years back in college, and he actually just threw the guy out of his way and went and sacked Josh Allen. That's his thing. He's strong.
Yeah.
And that's going to be real interesting to watch. And we were talking in our show yesterday, preparing for this, our meeting, about Vin Taylor.
Oh, we met?
He still is here. Remember
oh, yes, Vin Taylor is here.
Vince Taylor is still here.
But let me tell you what they're doing on this defensive tackle, as far as I'm concerned. They lost Starr, he opted out, okay, and a lot of Bills fans don't like him, don't see the stats, but he keeps, what they say is, and I believe these coaches, he's keeping the big boys off our linebackers and our strong safety. And what happened is, you see the Bills almost in a little bit of a, go find somebody who's like a refrigerator that can't be moved, because they're bringing in defensive tackles left and right, and yet you would say to yourself, well, wait a minute, we got Vernon Butler, and we got the guy from Seattle. But long story short is they just keep kind of going out finding that refrigerator that they can put in there.
It clogs up the middle of the lines and stuff, and
that like your plumbing?
Right. Well, like a lot of these teams, like the Polar Guards and the running plays and stuff. And when you got that beast in there, you got to account for him, and it can screw up your interior assignments. Quentin Jefferson.
Yeah, that's the kid I was talking about from
I
Seattle.
think he's built more along the lines of
And then
AJ, the draft
Espinoza.
pick, Espinoza. And you're right that they have the size now. They got the two guys they just brought in, Vernon Butler and Taylor, to
Yep.
see. But I think the key to the whole thing is Harrison Phillips, Dirty Harry. If that wheel is strong again, I think he can make up for Letelier there.
Yeah.
But you got to be sure, because that is a pretty significant injury, and it has only been I don't even think a year, right? Because
it hasn't even been a year. It's been 11 months.
the
10 or
kid,
11 months.
listen to that kid. He just loves being back and playing football and loves it here. And he might not be 100% yet, so that's why they're putting in some options in there.
Sure. Well, okay, we got about 4 minutes left in our show today, so I want to start with a couple things, if you don't mind.
No, go right ahead.
Okay, one was I know about, and then I want to actually read something, but one was a West Seneca police officer was called to a Planned Parenthood for a disturbance, and the officer came. It was a single car, him in a single car. He didn't have a partner with him, so he walked up and he was starting to take a statement from the person at the West Seneca Planned Parenthood, but he saw a BLM sign in the window, and he asked the woman, "Well, is that your sign, or did somebody plaster it there?" And she said, "No, it's our sign." He said, "Have a nice day," and he walked away. So,
Oh no, he didn't.
yeah. Said he won't take their statement. He said, "Well, you got to remember what that means. That means
Right.
defund police and get
Right.
him out of a job." And the guy, now again, great character, stood by his convictions, but now he's been suspended. And my guess is once they look into it, they'll fire him. And I just think,
Right.
you don't want us there during the mob scenes,
Right.
but you want us there. I don't know. Go ahead. You got something?
Great video too of the people in the one suburban what do you call them, like a neighborhood,
Mhm.
and the Antifa came down the street dressed in black with masks and stuff, and they ran into an ass whooping, and the Antifa people are screaming, "Someone call the police!" And somebody said, "You wanted to fund them." And it's a nice little, if you're looking for some inspiration,
Yeah.
it's great to see what happens when you run into some real Americans that are sick and tired of the shit.
So here's an Antifa block line formation again in Portland. They're throwing rocks and other projectiles all night in Portland.
83 nights now, and I've gotten
80 days in the hole.
some lip on my Facebook post about what cities, what's going on. Oh, Portland, the feds wrecked that. Well, the feds have backed off, and 83 days
In
of
the
violence.
hole.
And
This is from Portland. May I read this?
Mhm.
So the crowds were chanting, "Kill a cop, save a life. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, burn it down."
right.
There you go.
Well, one of the
Peaceful.
leaders of blah 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 from New York made the comment that if they don't get what they want, they're going to continue to burn. And he also
Burn, baby, burn.
He also pointed out that the looting and stuff is part of reparations. Now, I will give him to his credit. They are reporting, like, who's looting what, so that when the reparation checks do come
Oh
out,
yeah, then they can back it
yes,
off.
that
It's
is
like
being done.
the 70-inch TVs, when they go out, there's a value on them. I think they're doing $1,200.
They're not
So
getting
when
book value, but
No
yes,
buck?
there
All right,
is
maybe 1,000. And
but
then
they
when you
are.
get reparations, they'll take the $1,000 off.
And he also commented on the fact that this Breonna Taylor, and I've had it up to my neck with this bullshit. The woman was a dispatcher, I think, with the police. Harpo Marx has put up billboards in Kentucky to have all the police officers arrested. Let's just throw some facts on a good story.
You got a minute, sir. Go ahead.
Right? Her boyfriend was a drug dealer, selling drugs, and they were pretty sure through her house. Her neighbors complained. They had a warrant. Yes, they had a warrant. The police officers, this has been vetted. Police officers came to the door and knocked. The boyfriend yelled, "Who is it?" They said, "Police." He fired first, wounding a police officer. They began to shoot, and Breonna was killed. But when you mess with drugs in that type of business, you're playing with fire.
Plus, but as I understand it, the warrant was for her as well.
She was on the warrant, so blah blah
And by
blah
the
from
way,
New York
it
says
was-
there was no warrant. There was
There
indeed
was,
a warrant.
and they weren't at the wrong house.
And by the way, Michelle Obama came out with a few